My story begins with an unlikely prophecy. A few days after I was born, an old man proclaimed to my parents, "This child will be great." And I've had to shoulder that lofty expectation all my life. First for my parents, then for my country, and now for the next generation of leaders. My childhood started out as a privileged one. My parents were both of indigenous roots, but my father held an elite position as the legislature's first Native member. My siblings and I lived in the city, attended school there, and would spend our summers in my family's village with our mother and grandmother. We spent our vacation enjoying nature, practicing traditional farming, swimming, fishing in the nearby stream, picking wild fruits and flowers. Our father became ill early on and passed away by the time I was 7, leaving my mother to care for 4 children, a teacher and a preacher. Our mother became an anchor for all of us. I watched as she embraced hard work with a singular focus to see us succeed. She instilled humility, honesty, and determination to ensure that we knew the value of what it takes to make life. Today, I firmly believe that I am where I am and can continue the hard work ahead because of the lessons and the values she instilled in me. I graduated high school and married at 17 years old. I dedicated the next decade of my life to my husband. I bore 4 sons in 3 years and watched my former peers advance in school and their careers. Meanwhile, my marriage was turbulent at best, and I experienced domestic violence. In 1961, my husband was granted an opportunity to study in the United States, which afforded me the chance to nurture the same dream. After a decade and 4 children of being out of school, I approached this incredible opportunity with the same determination to succeed that I had once seen in my own mother. And I went on to earn an accounting degree from the Madison Business College in Wisconsin. Sometimes strength comes in different ways. When I landed in Madison in the winter, and prior to that, I had never been on an airplane. The cold, terrible cold. My only response was to cry, and the cry freeze. To go to school required the breathtaking decision of leaving our children at home, the youngest one being 1 year old. We were able to do so by the established tradition of an extended family system where grandmothers helped with taking care of children to enable their children to have the opportunity of studying. On return home, I dedicated my time to becoming a good professional, leading to stress in marriage. I was ever mindful, however, that our country required change, deserved better. My family experience made this so. My political activism was ignited early at home when an eminent female jurist and a courageous judge led a street march demanding freedom for civic protests and greater independence for judges in the courts. Their passion and determination inspired me to action and made it difficult for me to continue to do business as usual. I found it difficult to stay on the sidelines as I watched the political tide that was sweeping Liberia at that time. This tide would eventually become a storm, washing away the progress of the past and the potential of the future. Again, in a commencement address to my high school alma mater, I called for less government control of the economy and pleaded for a return to democracy. I was taken to a cabinet meeting and threatened with a jail term. My escape was the opportunity to go to the United States for further training at Harvard. Subsequently, I completed a certificate course at the Economics Institute of the University of Colorado at Boulder in advance of my master's degree from Harvard. I worked part-time during this period. I did what I could to make ends meet, and I learned what it meant to go without basic necessities. The hardships I experienced made me more prepared for life at home and gave me a greater appreciation for the struggles and resilience of the poor. While at Harvard, I witnessed the heights of protest against the Vietnam War. I saw the passion and fire on all sides of the debate. My activism zeal was enhanced. I returned home, served in government, and enjoyed a rapid ascent as a civil servant. I found it hard, however, to stay on the sidelines as I watched the political tide that was sweeping Liberia at that time. It was during this time that I learned, as Secretary Albright has stated, that women have to be active listeners and interrupters. But when you interrupt, you have to know what you are talking about. Believe me, I interrupted. I refused to keep silent about the inequalities in policies, practices, and the corruption that plagued our government. As a junior official from the then Department of Treasury, I represented that office at a development conference at the University of Liberia, sponsored by Harvard. I used all that I could to describe why change was necessary, and I was threatened with dismissal. I had become galvanized in my resolve to steer a better course for our country and right the wrongs of the past. I rose up with fellow compatriots at home and in the diaspora, speaking truth to power, as I sped down a path that would land me in prison twice and force me to flee my country. Yes, the path of resistance is turbulent, arduous, and perilous by nature. It sometimes requires unimaginable sacrifice from those on the march. For women and mothers, the path of resistance often demands even more. I spent the 80s and 90s in exile abroad and pursued a professional career, building upon what was achieved when I was at the World Bank several years before. Most notably, in that period, at Citibank Nairobi, as the first African woman vice president. Subsequently, at the United Nations, where I helped other countries advance development and economic reforms. My international work gave me a new platform to raise global awareness to the need for change, to the culture of the lack of integrity, to violence and impunity, which was part of the Liberian culture. Recalling the old man's prophecy, I returned to Liberia and attempted to interrupt the violence, the utter lack of respect for human life. I challenged the status quo. I challenged all of those in absolute power. I challenged my fellow compatriots to see beyond the barrel of a gun and dream of a better future. And this time, I challenge myself to put everything on the line to try to bring lasting change. I ran for the presidency in 1997, and I lost. But I underestimated the impact of a decade of violence. I underestimated power of corruption and lawlessness at the time. Most importantly, I underestimated the power of a dream, the power of the collective dream of Liberian mothers. Secretary Clinton has stated that women are the largest untapped reservoir of talent in the world. That was very true in Liberia. The women of Liberia are mothers, daughters, sisters, aunts, and grandmothers. For 14 years, bear the brunt of violence. They carried the true and brutal cost of war. And together, they nurtured the collective dream of a peaceful Liberia. In 2005, the women of Liberia played a pivotal role in electing me to be the first woman president of Liberia, which also, as has been mentioned, made me the first democratically elected female president in Africa. I carry this honor in full acknowledgement of the sacrifices of the women of Liberia, of the sacrifices of African women, of the sacrifices of girls all over our continent. It's through them that this dream is realized, and they belong to have the dividend from that dream. Together, we inherited a war-torn country which faced total economic collapse, destroyed infrastructure.
Up front, it's been more than a year since you left office as president of Liberia. You came into power off the back of a peace deal that followed decades of war and violence and coups. You ended your mandate with Liberia's first successful democratic transition in 73 years. You're the first woman to lead an African nation, a Nobel Peace Prize winner. And yet some might say you've been more popular abroad than you have been at home. What do you say to them?
Well, you know, I think if one really went around the country, where I spent a lot of time going into rural areas, being able to work with farmers and rural women and traders, and, you know, I found that I was very well connected with them. But also, if in the city, some of the positions I took were maybe not popular, then that's fine. But I also know that I had to be out there in the global community, being able to mobilize the support for Liberia, being able to restore Liberia's creditworthiness, being able to make sure that the partnership that we needed, was put in place to enable us to achieve our development goals. I'm very happy with what I was able to do.
When you became president in 2005, you pledged a war on corruption. You called it, quote, a national cancer and, quote, public enemy number one. But then you yourself were hit with a variety of scandals, your government, and you later said you, quote, underestimated the cultural roots of corruption. But surely Liberian culture isn't to blame for corruption. Liberian politicians, such as yourself and others, are to blame for corruption.
Well, let me tell you, politicians are part of the culture. Politicians are part of the value system.
But it sounds like you're blaming the public, the country, for the actions of politicians.
I'm not blaming anybody. No. I think you're just talking without listening. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying dependency, dishonesty came part of the Liberian culture over the many years of deprivation. The institutions to fight corruption were not there.
You mentioned the institutions, and yet you did have an independent corruption watchdog, the General Auditing Commission, which found 20 government ministers, accused 20 government ministers of corruption, and you failed to prosecute any of them. Why?
Well, let me tell you something. All of those reports were sent to our Liberia Anti-Corruption Agency. They were also sent to our legislature. We organized a particular unit in the presidency to be able to look at all of those cases and to be able to send them forward to the Ministry of Justice wherever they thought prosecution was necessary.
So why weren't they prosecuted?
But well, because our system is like that. If you want to really understand Liberia, you need to dig a little bit deeper. You need to understand our culture, our values, our systems. And the way to tackle it is not always to just make a whole lot of noise about it, but to quietly build those institutions that are going to be long-lasting.
What is it about your country's institutions and values and culture that led you to appoint 3 of your sons and your sister to top government positions, something that led to your fellow Liberian Nobel Peace Laureate, RAMAH Bowie, to resign from her post as head of Liberia's Peace and Reconciliation Commission? Does she not understand Liberian culture or institutions?
No. Let's put it this way. First of all, when I took office, if you're talking about one of my sons was always in place a couple of administrations before I took place, and I didn't fire him. Yes, I didn't think it was necessary to do so. If you're talking about the others where I needed a specialized skill to be able to achieve our objective of trying to mobilize the resources to tackle our major development programs, that's what I did. And frankly, will you please look around today at some other countries that have found themselves perhaps in similar position and have been able to put in place those particular relatives close to them whom they feel they could trust? I'll leave that to you to do your research on.
Well, I've done my research. The British Prime Minister hasn't appointed any family members. The Canadian Prime Minister hasn't appointed any family members. The French President hasn't appointed any family members. The German Chancellor hasn't appointed any family members. I could keep going, Helen Johnson-Sirleaf.
Good for them. Is that all?
Well, you were saying look at other countries. I'm saying it's not a common practice for presidents or prime ministers, certainly not in democratic nations, to appoint a bunch of family members to run various institutions.
Well, look. Let me put it this way. We're really gone beyond this now. You know, let's deal with the real issues of Liberia. Let's deal with how we can help this country to succeed.
You say let's deal with Liberia's real issues. No. You said you appointed family members for specialized skill sets. Your son, Robert Sirleaf, was appointed chairman of Liberia's national oil company. That company went bankrupt and $30 to $40 million disappeared. What special skill set did he bring to national oil company?
No. First of all, let me just say, what you just said is a blatant lie. L-I-E, lie. You go look at the records. There is nothing about that company going bankrupt.
So there were no problems at all at National Oil Company?
The National Oil Company ran into because the two companies that were trying to exploit for oil, ExxonMobil and Chevron, could not find oil. They pulled out, and that meant that this company could not continue. It's as simple as that. And the record is clear on
How
that.
about the Liberia's central bank? You appointed your son Charles Sirleaf as deputy governor there. You suspended him. You suspended him for failing to declare his assets. And 2 months ago, he was ordered to be held in jail while awaiting trial for having unlawfully printed local currency worth tens of millions of US dollars. Did you know he was doing that?
Well, I didn't know you wanted to have an interview just to come out with outrageous statements. I mean, if that was so,
I'm confused. Was he not?
Never, no. I thought you.
Hold on, has he not been held in jail? Is that wrong? Has he not been held in jail?
True. That is not true. That is not true. He was unjustifiably, illegally charged. But anyway,
so he was charged. I mean, that's your opinion. You're his mother. Obviously, you're not going to agree with the charges. I'm just asking you to comment on him being held for trial. You're saying that didn't happen. Please.
No, you're not. No. What you're trying to do is showmanship now. That's what you're trying to do. We don't need that. We need to have a civil exchange.
I'm very civil. I asked a very simple question. You accuse me of making up things. I haven't accused you of anything. I simply asked, your son has been ordered to be held in jail while awaiting trial for having unlawfully printed local currency worth tens of millions of dollars. What's your reaction to that? There's nothing uncivil about that question.
Look, our system requires that when we have a case under the jurisdiction of the court, we're not supposed to talk about it until that matter is settled by the courts. So you're trying to make me do things that are not right and not legal. Please don't do that.
Okay, how about what happened on your watch? You suspended him for failing to declare his assets. Am I lying about that as well?
Oh, I did what I felt I had to do. You have to realize how I ran the government.
That's what we tried to work out here. That's what our viewers want to know. How did you run the government? You appointed family members, suspended some of them. Just wondering how that works.
Well, I don't think you want a conversation.
I do. I don't think you want a conversation, because I'm asking questions that are very legitimate questions. I would ask any former president on this show about corruption allegations on their watch. The fact that they happen to be your children is neither here nor there.
You're right.
So you don't want to comment on anything about corruption. Okay. One of the other things critics line up against you for, you're criticized is for your former support of Charles Taylor, your predecessor, who's, of course, a convicted war criminal. In 2009, you formally apologized for having stood behind him. That same year, the Liberian Truth and Reconciliation Commission made a set of recommendations saying that a compensation scheme should be created, a dedicated war crimes court should be set up. You never took action on those things. Why not?
We have moved beyond the Charles Taylor story. We have moved beyond all of those bad things that characterize our country. Liberia needs peace. Liberia needs civility. Liberia needs to claim a future that's devoid of all of those things that have kept us down, that have divided us, that has created problems for us. Well,
isn't that what truth and reconciliation is for, to get past division?
Truth and reconciliation has been gone to the courts. It's left the courts. It has transformed into a palaver hut. That process has started, the process of contrition and forgiveness. All of that has started, and so I don't care.
But you ignored the actual Commission on Truth and Reconciliation, which also accused you of financing and forming, quote, the warring factions in Liberia's civil wars. The report said that people, including yourself, should be banned from occupying public office for 30 years.
Really? But then maybe you're not up to date on what's happening in our country. Maybe you forget that after that came out, I won 2 elections.
Because you ignored the recommendation that said you shouldn't be allowed to run for office.
No. That went to court. You see, you don't have enough information for the things you say.
Okay.
That's really unfortunate.
Okay.
This matter went to the courts. I didn't put it there. It went up to our Supreme Court, and a decision was taken. You cannot, this body did not have the legal powers to be able to judge people without giving them right of self-defense. It wasn't my case, it was somebody else's case. If you just take a little bit of time to understand the truth and the facts, then you won't have to say some of the things you say.
Okay. It's not true then that the recommendation was for people not to run for office for 30 years. I just made that up.
Well, again, you totally missed the point.
Okay. We'll have to agree and disagree what the report says.
The streets of Monrovia have been blocked by retired soldiers, including the AFL, the Armed Forces of Liberia. The soldiers were forced out of work under the peace agreement. They claim they haven't received their back pay or their pensions, and this isn't the first time they have done this to force the government to pay them. This is the biggest threat to the new government so far.
We now face a situation in which the AFL, whom we have paid huge sums to, claim that the benefits that were to be paid to them was not fully paid. There's also the issue of pension. Now, that's an issue that has not yet been addressed.
Accountability and transparency is built into this, so that people know how much money comes in, who has signatory to the account, and all of these things.
Okay.
Ex-soldiers are demonstrating for their money, so they are angry, they want their money, and if they don't get their money, there will be another thing happening in Liberia. As you can see, they are already on a rampage.
If the president cannot see us now, then of course, these men will have to come out in the street. Seriously. Yeah, we are not going to condone anything here. This country is ours.
I see most of them down here now.
I think I must be responsive to any group of peoples, whether they're retired soldiers or any groups that have true grievances. Even if they gather and there's risk to my safety, I take the risk.
Let a leader come. Who the leader?
I told them they were here for a purpose. That has to do with our retirement, insurance benefit.
Y'all say I will make war.
No way.
And there will be no Christmas.
No way.
That one there, when you say that one there, then that problem.
Nobody said that either.
But all the people were saying to say that y'all say I will make war.
No.
As long as you are peaceful, you have every right to present your grievance to the government, and we find a solution together. Isn't that the right way?
That's the right way.
We'll do it today.
Hello! We have finally met the president. And I have a message for you. Therefore, let everybody go in the city hall.
What solution do we have in our meeting with them today? What can we offer? What can we promise?
With regards to salary arrears, that's where you probably need to say something on salary arrears, because it's the last cushion for some of them in terms of cash.
My understanding is that those payments have been made.
Complete.
Everybody received their full benefits in keeping with that agreement.
Yes, ma'am.
So the only other issue that may have some justification, pension.
From the AFL side, it's about 5.56 million US dollars.
Ooh, that's big money. Like I say, Christmas in the air. Part of the agitation for Christmas money now.
That's exactly what it is.
We have to say to them, the salary arrears will be retired over a 3-year period because the government does not have the resources.
What would you say spurred on the civil war at the time?
Oh, again, because the poor got poorer. There were no opportunities for people to compete for leadership, for political office.
The elites are those who benefited from economic gains. So that led, first of all, to a coup d'etat. And the coup d'etat replaced someone where the constraints in the society continue, and eventually it led to 2 decades of civil war.
Some people don't have money to go and buy a truckload of sand, so they come here and buy a bag of sand. The people want to send to do that the poor people, they want to do their little renovation because the structure that got damaged during the war. So sell it to them.
We as combatants will make almost to understand that if they not pay off, then we'll continue our own country here. We don't want to spoil it, so we'll continue to spoil it. We'll spoil it.
At that time, after the coup d'etat, and when you were running when you were running part of the elections as well, do you think that in hindsight, that your support for Charles Taylor, as you had said during the TRC, may have been wrong?
Oh yes, everyone's support for Charles Taylor had a lot of support. Perhaps he even still does. Yes, I was wrong.
Why? What makes you say that?
Well, because whatever were the motivation for his taking leadership were never achieved.
What do you think informs that? Because earlier on, for instance, we were speaking to His Excellency Obasanjo as well, and he was speaking about how he supported President Buhari and voted for President Buhari, but in hindsight, he feels that he took the wrong decision. What would you say for you is that moment that said, actually, I shouldn't have done this?
You know, the one thing we want to stay away from is trying again to politicize our society. We've had enough of that in our lifetime. Charles Taylor is gone. We should let him go in peace. Our nation wants to find new ways for unity and reconciliation, and so I don't want to get any more into that. I think I've said what I had to say on that.
Do you think you still owe the nation an apology?
No.
Why not?
I said no.
Yeah, I understand, but why do you feel that
Apology
you don't owe?
for what?
For supporting a man who would later turn on his country?
That's an unwarranted assumption on your part.
So you don't believe that you owe?
Did we come to this interview to talk about Liberian politics? I thought we were talking about democracy.
We're speaking about, but this is part of the process of democracy.
You don't define what I say. We're here to talk about democracy. You want to talk Liberian politics? Come to Liberia and I'll give you full time to do it.
Sure, ma'am.
This interview has ended.
But we're also speaking about...
No.
Don't you think that this is part of democracy?
You don't hijack people this way. You know, you plan something, you want an interview to talk about Liberian politics, say so. Then we do that, and I'll give you full coverage. But if you tell me we're coming to talk about democracy at a time when I come to a conference on democracy, and all you want to talk about is Charles Taylor, please.
But the conversation then continues, ma'am. This is not the only topic that we'll be focusing on. We'll continue.
No, but at this stage, my whole state of mind is that I've been hijacked.
I apologize.
I don't like that.
I apologize that you feel that way, ma'am. Do you care to speak about the TRC?
No. Interview's ended.
It was the Americans who put pressure on President Johnson Sirleaf to request for and to break even their own assurance that they gave to us, and to request or to put pressure on the president of Liberia to request for Charles Taylor.
the name of the Liberian people and our government, I therefore declare free tuition. Let me read into it. I therefore declare free tuition for all undergraduate students at the University of Liberia as well as all other public universities in Liberia. Thank you. Now, Liberians make use of the opportunity they want today to reach their full potential in their educational sojourn. The details and modalities will be arranged and finalized between the administration of the university and the relevant sectorial ministries of government. But to the student, let me inform you that this will be a win-win partnership between you and the government, as you will still expect to pay other fees charged by the university. Ladies and gentlemen, by this intervention, my government shows that commitment. Not only
Thank you so much for the invitation. Appreciate it. It's great to be back in Liberia. Last time we saw each other was 13 years ago. 13 years ago. And now you are the captain of this ship. You're the captain of this country. After captaining your national football team, the Lone Stars, now you have the whole country to captain. Is it a daunting task, Mr. President? Is it a tough task?
Well, every task is a difficult task. It depends how you go about it. As a player, former professional soccer player, it wasn't an easy task. The discipline that comes with it, very difficult. Because and I can give you a reason why it wasn't an easy task. A lot of people went at that place, the same. They never made it because it was not easy. It was a difficult task. Those that were disciplined, that were ready to work, that were working out every day, that was on time, schedule, who never missed a schedule, or have passion for it, we succeeded. So it's the same thing we bring to administration. My dedication, my hard work, and resilience in working. And I always want to perform, and this is what I brought to the job. Of course, it's an administrative job. It's a difficult job. Difficult job in the sense that the field that we're in today is politics. Sometimes it's not honest, dishonesty. People see good things happening, but because we are opposition, we will not praise, but I wish we could adapt a new mentality where we see the good things, we say yes, and we see the bad things, we say yes. That alone will give even the leader of the country the chance to weigh, to see that, I'm not performing here. But everything you criticize, and then nobody take it serious, because some of those things are just mere allegations, and we need facts.
Yeah. Do you think some of the times, because of what you've done in 18 months, those who were there before weren't able to do it in 12 years? You think that's why now they're suddenly saying, how is this possible?
Definitely. I grew up in the society, I was born here, I grew up in the society, and I can tell you, we follow politics in the country. We saw a lot of leaders come and go, and 12 years ago, I, as a politician now, I always, my predecessor, she always get praise from me when things are good. The last time I went to Jeune Afrique, and someone asked me, if you gave Ellen Johnson a grade from 10 to 1, what will you do? I gave her 8, simply because of maintaining the peace. Okay, and that's something she did right, and we have to say the right thing, because we are honest people. So 12 years ago, we never have feeder roads or pave or cement feeder road in this country that would decongest our capital. Today you can see it, but no one want to say that. We pave and cement almost 48-kilometer roads right in the city here. But nobody sees that. But what is important for me, those people, those downtrodden that really need for the road to be paved, because they day in, day out, they place money in this rainy season, they are relieved because it's raining and they can only contend with just the road, not the mud. So that I'm happy that in 1 year and 7 months, I achieved a major road project in this country. I achieved the WISE fee for children that want to go to the West African National Exam Council, and because of what we did, by giving them free tuition, today we have a better results in the WISE.
When you were growing up, did you ever have any goals? Did you dream of being president one day of this country? Did that ever occur to you growing up in the slums, in the inner cities of Monrovia?
Well, no, I did not grow up thinking that I'm going to be president one day. I grew up knowing that if I work hard, I can be what I want to be. So I think keeping that mentality and have passion for what I do, brought me to this place. And then my love for country and my love for people. During the war, I participated, not fighting, but fighting the AIDS in society and helping those people that were vulnerable. And I think Liberians love me for that. And when I came on board and let them know that, hey, we can change this country, we can do something here, whatever it is. And then I was interested with the leadership. And I can guarantee you, it's not that bad, because what we met on deck, we cannot compare to what is going on. So the lot of deficit, that we incur, that we are dealing with, but those my detractors will not explain, because when I came here, I said, we are inheriting a broken economy. And what we're seeing today is that we're paying debts of all government, and of course, that's the right thing to do, because government continue. We're not going to cry, we're going to fight to make sure that we grow our economy, we do what needs to be done. This is what we want to obey our rules. We want to, the sector, agriculture sector, we want to invest in it so it can help to create jobs. If you look around you, we saw that there was salary disparity, and then we try to cut down wages so it can help us, and doing our best to collect taxes, and So there are a lot of things we put in place in a short time. Yeah. And I think if Liberians work with us, we can achieve what we want to achieve.
Do you think at the same time, Mr. President, that you kind of rocked the boat? You defied the status quo that was there before. You know, they didn't expect this from someone like you.
Well, this is life. We don't expect anything. You know, life is it's open. You know, I mean, only God decides who go where, you know, when, how. You know, so I'm sure our part of that vision of the Almighty God. You know, those that are going to be leaders of this country. And I think what is important for me is to continue to work hard. You know, those that believe in me, you know, the Liberian people believe in me. You know, I'm not serving just politicians, you know, I'm serving the people, you know, and those that went in the race with me still doesn't understand that election is over. Because if they want to be leader of tomorrow, they have to make sure that they help the government, they bring their ideas, and we sit on the table and put those ideas. They can even bring their own investment into the country. You know, now what we did, you know, I was the peace ambassador for Madam Ellen government. Why? Because of the country, because of the people. I could have said no, I don't want to work with her. But I did that for the love of country. You know, and this is how every Liberian should be. You know, it's not just looking at the president. I can do it all. I don't know it all. You know, so...
Yeah. 13 years ago, were you ready? Had you become president in 2006, as opposed to 2017 or 2018, you think it was a different... Is there a difference in those 13 years that has taught you?
What, Jeff, if you allow me to call you Jeff.
Yes, sir.
2005, if I'm ready or not, you know, as I said, Jeff, when I went on my professional field, the first day I went on practice ground, was I ready? Yes, I was ready because I was inspired. It's an opportunity that was given me. So I had to do my best. So from that day that I was called on the field as a full professional soccer player, I was ready already because I was practicing, even though I was not a full professional player. Then when the opportunity came, I worked hard. So 2005, I don't think I'm going to make a difference, you know, because I'm going to work hard, we're going to get the best people on board, and I'm sure we're going to move on. You know, sometimes people believe that, oh, you were not prepared in 2005, you know, but again, it's opinion. And we accept everyone's opinion. But maybe 2005 could have been better for me. Because a lot of funds that came in, you know what I'm saying? A lot of contracts that being signed, some are not in the interest of the state. Maybe I could have been the best person at that time to sign those deals. You know, so it doesn't matter when you come. You know, so what matters is that what you can do when you are there. You know, you work hard, and I'm sure if we work hard, you know, if my team push more, you know, I think we can succeed.
Yeah. But then there's an old saying: "Be careful what you wish for, because you may just get it." Now you wished for this, you've gotten it. Is it difficult? Is it challenging being president of Africa's oldest republic?
Well, as I told you, every work is challenging. You know, I mean, it's challenging to be the president of the oldest African state. But this is what I got. So I have to work towards it. Believe in my God, I believe in, that took me everywhere, and I succeeded. So I believe in God, and I know that with God, I will not make my people shame. You know, I got good friends. I got people that are willing to help. I got friends out there that are willing to invest in this country. You know, but I think what is important for is the peace of this country is more important, because without peace, there will not be investment. No stability will be investment. People will be afraid. So once we maintain the peace, we work together as a nation, we can succeed. You know, remember, after me, somebody will come. And how we treat that person, you know, will develop this country, you know.
You keep talking about the peace, Mr. President. Are you afraid this country could go back to what it was before? Is there a fear?
No, I'm not afraid. You know, I'm just being cautious. And then I want Liberians to know that our past was not a beautiful one. You know, war is never a beautiful thing. You know, and we were not in the war. You know, may those that left us, may their soul rest in peace. But at the same time, we witnessed the war. We were part of it at a certain point. Going to refugee camps to see your people displaced, it was a good thing to see. You know, some of us lost our parents, we lost our friends. So it's not a good thing. I think the only way you can sustain a country, you can develop a country, is to sustain the peace. To sustain our people, we have to maintain the peace. We have to work together to develop the country. We have to maintain the peace. We have to be stable. You know, despite our political differences, Liberia is what we have. This is our country. You know, and we ran before. You know, we cannot keep running. You know, sometimes people that even die for us, for our freedom, may not be prepared again to come back. So we need to do everything to make sure that we guard our country, you know, and fight our cause, you know, through dialogue, through bringing ideas, you know, that can develop this country.
Yeah, and because you lived through those horrific times, Mr. President, you lived it, and I was here and I covered this country endlessly. What do you tell other Africans who take peace and freedom for granted? What do you tell them?
What, as I said to the United Nations, you know, we have to be peaceful. This is why we're trying to maintain the peace. And we have to do that. Because without peace, our world will be difficult. And we know that. You know, I'm a Liberian. I know what we went through, even though we're not part of what in the battle itself. But we're battling a lot of things. Have you ever imagined during Liberian Civil War, when I go to the field to play, what runs in my mind? Will I perform good? Yeah, sometimes I perform bad. Simply because of my mind was somewhere else. And also, so a war is a destroyer. It's destruction, you know. So the best way is the peaceful way, you know. And so I believe that we must always, you know, continue to preach, you know, peace. You know, we should not incite people against government, because what to fight for, you know, you might be in a position one day, you know, because only God knows what happens. Those that are inciting people against government, tomorrow they will be here. The same thing could happen. But I think whatever happens, we must make sure that we promote peace and unity amongst our people. Yeah. And this is why my government is, we're talking about a forum to dialogue, economic forum, so those politicians can come at the table now and bring their ideas how to grow our economy. And I hope that they will do it sincerely and honestly, and we're going to listen to them. We're going to listen to them.
Yeah, Mr. President, when I see you at church, when I see Liberians at church, and the very God-fearing people, and then you imagine what the country went through for 15 years. I mean, it just doesn't make sense that they could be so religious, so God-fearing, and yet so brutal at the same time.
Yes, it's difficult to understand. You know, we talk about God so much, we go to church every day, but we keep on fighting each other. It's wrong to do so. You know, no matter what, we should have a construed heart for each other, you know, and continue to praise God, continue to work together. You know, let us not see politics as a battleground. You understand? You know, politics, you're going to play politics anyway. But when the hour is gone of politicking, you know, where there's no more elections, I mean, everyone comes together to build a country. You know, that one of the things, you know, I wish for Liberian politicians to understand, to play a part. And I'm open to that. I'm always inviting them. But again, they have to think about it. This is their country.
Yeah, you're a very patient man, Mr. You're very patient.
Patience is a virtue. I've learned that.
Yeah.
Patience is a virtue, and I learned that. So I doing everything. When I'm called to serve, I serve. When it's not my time, I wait. But I keep on trying because this is the way to go. Everything that we learn, it was you have to repeat it. It's repetition. So even in the game that I play, every day I go to practice, they bring different formation. I have to adapt. So that I'm prepared to adapt. And the country have a future. And I think all Liberians have to know that we have a future. Liberia is moving forward. We should not bring it back, no matter what happened. If 12 years things were not perfect, we have to continue on the path where they were, so we can continue to bring it to where we want to leave it. Maybe the next person come, you will take it to another height.
Absolutely. You say keep on trying. It reminds me of the song by Zach and Juba. Yeah. Keep on trying.
One day.
One day.
We want to be better.
Yes. Love that song. Mr. President, I want to take a break and come back and talk about what's the greatest lesson you learned on the football field that you're now applying in your job. And a lot of people don't even know that you are the only African to have ever won the Ballon d'Or. People don't know that. People forget. I want to talk about it. What was it like? And then, of course, when former Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger, they say he discovered you, or you give him full credit. Let's talk about that as well. Hold the thought. Mr. President will come and talk about that. We're going to take a break. My goodness, Jeff Koinange live on the road in Monrovia, the capital of Africa's oldest republic, Liberia, talking to the 25th president of this republic, George Mane Weah. What a man, folks. By the way, we're the same age, just in case you were wondering. Jeff Koinange live takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.
And you seem to be advocating for the gross abuses of women's rights and women's bodies.
I've always been.
And
women participation in government, women owning land. Advocated for things.
Liberian women should be holding you up high, but when they came up, you're writing about you and Emmanuel book about George Weah, the king, the rise to Liberian women were in the street. I saw women groups demonstrating, protesting, even against your former boss, that you got to get fired, or they should not. They should hold them. What is the contradiction? You preaching for this salvation and the rights of people, yeah, they are protesting against you. Is it not hypocritical?
Isn't that a regular thing? Isn't that, don't you see that outrage as contrived? It's contrived. It's fake outrage. It's not real. Let's face it. Our people and the issues, they try to put it's unfortunate, but it's a fact. Only probably 20 to 25% of our people are educated. And in that 20 to 25%, probably 15% of them or less are critically educated to understand nuances, to be able to analyze. So not because people can read and write and literate means they can understand things, or they can understand the difference between a writer/messenger, the person who uttered the words, and how those things are delivered. So it's there, but we don't want people to have this false perception. That's why we are coming and talking about the issues. That book is like a history book. It's a bestseller history book. Category is in because it brings reality to life in a concentrated fashion. And if people can't understand that, what can we do? We just got to keep talking about it. That's why we're having this discussion. Let's talk about the women issues. Let's talk about empowerment for women. Let's talk about all these negative things that are happening to women. T-Max, look at the situation with the 7-year-old little girl, the guy at the embassy there in Abuja. Okay, you know about that story. His co-embassy staff, two young boys, 15 and 16, abusing that little girl for months. Let's take the 13-year-old girl who was raped, sodomized, and died. What was the outrage? How can you compare that with 2 words in a book or a description in a book?
And that is
No
the
comparison
and that is
whatsoever.
the funny thing. Like I was asking guys, I might not want to read a book in its entirety, but these occurrences as contained in the book are things that happen every day. I don't see women group. A little guy was razor blade for the guy to get in there, and I didn't see women. As I listen to people on the radio, they insulting Liberian women, even the vice president of Liberia. I don't see there's support coming from Liberian women group in the support of the vice president. Now here we are with this graphic thing and people that are coming up. I'm wondering, maybe you should have kept your mouth shut and forget about the issue of women, and we live our lives the way we want to live them.
No, I can't live like that. It's unfortunate. I just can't live like that. I've been an advocate for everything positive for Liberia. I really, really want a better Liberia. I hope to see it in my lifetime. But when you have people, when you have a system, when you have people, when you have hypocrites, when you have sycophants who will try to push an agenda that is not true, that is far from the truth, there have to be 1 or 2 people that stand up and talk about it. So, it's probably lucky for us that we're not killed while in Liberia, because supposedly there was an attempt. I'm still trying to do that research to find out who pressed button, who did what, who were those coming. But there was an intent to do something negative. Luckily, I'm happy that I'm out. But we'll continue to talk.
You thought they would have killed you, eh?
No, I thought. People have said
that
the intent was to kill me. So we got to get to the bottom of it.
And you believe that?
At some point, if I believe it?
Yes.
T-Mac, look at the murders that people don't talk about. Do you think people are safe in our country? What happened with a young man whose tongue was cut just the other day? What is the issue with it? He was sodomized as well. Why is this decadence in our society? This like primitive, primal, decadence in our society where people don't feel protected at all. They got no recourse. But they will use police resources to say they're trying to deliver me safely from, Bull Waterside, where they drove me to come to town, when they should be investigating murders and other things around the country. It's sickening. Why should immigration be having a program to say they're handing me over to my family or my lawyer? I'm not a child. T-Max.
What are Liberian women?
You guys who are in the media, I would beg you, y'all got to bring more attention to these issues. You can let our people continue to suffer.
What are Liberian women telling you now? Both in Liberia and in America. What are they saying to you?
Many are telling me that they see the point. Many are agreeing with me. Many are disagreeing. One young lady, I don't know her, she was blasting at George Weah for his praise of Clara against Liberian women. But it's not really a competition. That's one. Women are just as smart, if not smarter than men. For the longest time in Liberia, women ain't no math. How you can just look at a set of people and say they know math?
Okay, let's move on another aspect of your book. Let's look at the political angle of the book. Some people were saying, some guys were saying the book would have made a bestseller had I've not agreed to being on the team of of Alexander Cummings, Liberian guys, Liberian women would have appreciated this book. They would have said, "Oh, but we know this forever. We've known this before." How did that affect your political life vis-a-vis the life of your political leader that you work for? Would they both be as famous as it is how you now work for Cummings?
I don't know. I think in my own right, I have my own popularity. I have my own, following.